call the court to order. First of all, we have some very special guests here tonight, and we have a rather lengthy agenda. This is a regular meeting, and before we begin, I would like to remind everyone to silence their cell phones. So just take a second. I'll make sure mine's on silent. We have one person signed up for public comment. That, of course, is at the end of the agenda. We have, again, a rather long agenda tonight. And I would like to begin by asking if Commissioner Brian Booth would say the invocation for us, please.
Dear Lord, we want to thank you, dear Lord, for this another day, dear Heavenly Father. Lord, watch over us this evening as we do these meetings, dear Lord, that we make all the right decisions for this county, dear Heavenly Father. And Lord, go with us throughout this day, the rest of this day, dear Lord. Amen.
Amen. Is Frankie going to be here? All right. I would, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Judge Jones?
Present.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Here.
Commissioner Booth?
We have a quorum, and we are ready to proceed. I would like to ask Ernie Thomas if he would like, he's a United States Marine Corps veteran. I'd like to ask him if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the meeting from July 24th, 2019. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Booth. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. One matter that we're going to do just briefly before we bring our first guest up is over the last 3 weeks or so, actually since about, I think the bankruptcy by Black Jewel LLC was filed on July 1st, it's been apparent that there has been a substantial number of coal miners in Kentucky, Virginia, and West Virginia who have not been paid. And while most of those coal miners are over in the Harlan County area, Letcher County, so far we have identified about 17 here in Pike County. And if you are a miner that was impacted by the Black Jewel bankruptcy, please call the judge's office tomorrow at 606-432-6247. We are working to get the Gillum Foundation that has worked to help miners that were not paid in some of the other counties to step up and also address the issue with the miners in Pike County. We had a meeting earlier today, my staff did, with the Big Sandy Community Action Program officials. So we're looking to see what our options are to help those individuals. Some of the employees who were laid off were able to draw unemployment, others were not. And the members of this court felt that it was important that we try to reach out to assist those employees from Black Jewel who live here in Pike County. So again, the court would like to extend an invitation. If you are an employee of Black Jewel and you live in Pike County, we need a list of those individuals. So please call the office tomorrow at 606-432-6247. Just a little background on this. The Richard and Leslie Gillum Foundation reached out and they donated over $1 million to 508 coal miners whose checks bounced and are still out of work. $2,000 has been awarded to each miner that has registered with the foundation. We're working to make sure these individuals that live in Pike County are covered by this gift. Black Jewel apparently has provided no information to the Gillum Foundation or anyone else regarding how many of those miners there were in each of the counties. Harlan County Judge Executive Dan Mosley, who's a good friend of mine, they have had over 240 coal miners in Harlan County that have registered, and somewhere near 140 in Letcher County. So again, if you live in Pike County, you were impacted by the Black Jewel bankruptcy, please give us a call so we can try to help get you registered with the Gillum Foundation. We have some very good news tonight. We have some distinguished guests. I would like to ask Mr. Gray Tomlin, the Commissioner of Rural and Municipal Aid from the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, to come up. And he is accompanied by Senator Philip Wheeler and Representative John Blanton, who happens to be my representative. We also have District 12 Chief Engineer Mary Holbrook and Mr. Joe Stanley from District 12, if they'd like to come up and have a seat here at the front as well. Gentlemen, have a seat here at the front, and welcome. And hopefully those mics will work. Commissioner, welcome. And this is, I think, the first time that we've had an opportunity to have you address the Pike County Fiscal Court. We had the Secretary here a month or so ago. Secretary Thomas was kind enough to come up. And then I believe that you spent a day with Mr. Little, our road supervisor, looking at some problem areas that we have. And I think you have an announcement that you would like to make and extend some good news to the folks here in Pike County.
Judge Jones, Fiscal Court, I want to thank you for letting me be with you this evening. Also want to thank Senator Wheeler and Representative Blanton for the work that they've done out in their districts. I want to start off by saying that when Governor Bevan appointed me as Commissioner of Rural and Municipal Aid, he made two things very clear. One, I was to travel the Commonwealth and work with local officials in rural communities to address infrastructure needs. And two, I was never to play politics. And Governor Bevan has told of a time in 2015 he was traveling through the Commonwealth, and he's driving down the highway and he sees some orange barrels up ahead. And he slows down and pulls up beside it, and there's two orange barrels sitting inside the hole from where the hole had actually grown larger from when the barrels were first put out there. And he asked some of the locals, you know, why is there a big hole in the highway? And the response they were given was, that, you know, their county wasn't of the right political persuasion. And we know that's nonsense. And Judge, I appreciate your hospitality because, you know, blacktop is black. It's not red, it's not blue. We don't have Democratic or Republican roads. We have Kentucky roads for Kentucky people. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what letters beside your name or your county. We're all Kentuckians and we're all working together. And I just appreciate your hospitality. You know, in traveling the thousands of miles across the Commonwealth and having thousands of conversations with individuals, one conversation I think about at least 2 or 3 times a day. Never forget about it. And I was in Western Kentucky last year in the middle of a soybean field with 30 or 40 farmers. And a bridge had collapsed about 6 or 7 years prior, and it was causing a significant hardship for their deliveries. And at the end of this meeting, a reporter asked me, said, Commissioner, is that bridge really that important? Are those farmers really that important? I mean, think about that for a minute. Are those farmers really that important? And being a country boy myself, I lived in Greenup County. I was taken back by that kind of arrogance. I don't know what you would call it. And I said, well, you know, it might not be the Louisville Bridge, but it's their Louisville Bridge. And it is important. It's important to them. It's important to me, and it's certainly important to Governor Bevan. And unfortunately, we have people that look down their noses at us because we're country folks or we live in a rural area. And I don't think anyone in this room tonight thinks that your life is any less important because your county doesn't have 300,000 or 400,000 people living in it. And that's why I want to announce that Governor Bevan has approved of, you know, $936,600 for resurfacing projects for Pike County. And it's about, you know, moving forward, about working with local officials. And Judge, again, I want to thank you for the working relationship we have. I think that the citizens of Pike County can see the fruits of a working relationship between their fiscal court, their county leaders, and the Bevan administration, and I look forward to working with you again in the near future. This isn't the end, this is just the beginning. And I think that that's what it's all about, is us working together, doing the best we can for our communities and our state, and moving forward. I really appreciate your hospitality.
Well, Commissioner, let me say this. You know, when I served in the state Senate, I had a close relationship with people in both parties. Representative Blanton's one of my close friends. We've gotten to be good friends. We worked together in Frankfort after he was elected, and at times we'll have political differences, but the thing about being county judge, the thing I love about it compared to being in Frankfort, is you really don't have the partisan politics. I mean, the members of this court don't look at issues as a Republican or Democrat. We look at, you know, what we can do to help our neighbors and our friends. And I live on a county road. I don't live in the city. And I live, Representative Blanton's my state representative, but I live on a county road. And there are a lot of needs that haven't been met. I think in the past, the folks here may not have known that there was discretionary money in Frankfort. I'm not sure. One thing we're not going to be shy about is asking for help, because if you don't ask, you don't get it. Right. And I think that Secretary Thomas and I had a great relationship when he came into office, and I think that's a testament to the folks in your cabinet. We are going to continue to work together, politics aside, to try to address the needs of the people of Eastern Kentucky, and we understand that Pike County, and we believe Pike County is the economic engine that drives Eastern Kentucky. I've had other county judges talk to me about the importance of the number of people in their counties that work here. A lot of people in this county travel on county roads daily, and some of the problems that we've had that we're going to address, and I'm going to give a list of these. The first one, the biggest one, will be Ford Mountain. That goes from Meta over into Brushy. A lot of people who live in Brushy, there's about 200 families in Brushy, and they've complained about the condition of that road. And our maintenance garage manager, Mr. Justice, is back there. He works up on that mountain. It's in bad shape. It's been in bad shape for years and years and years. And we appreciate there's an allocation of $601,600 for that road. Road Fork, which is from Sookies Creek over into Island Creek, is $195,000. That road is, I think you drove it. There's potholes up there literally that would bust a tire. And then we have Sycamore Mountain at Lower Johns Creek. That's $70,000. And I think there was another project that we couldn't do because it didn't qualify, but that money's going to be redirected, I think, to Right Fork of Brushy. And that's a beginning. We greatly appreciate it. And when you combine that with the $2.4 million in county road aid money that we're receiving from the state, and you throw in about $372,000 in flex money, we're going to be able to take care of a lot of needs. Some of the paving that we're doing in-house. We've got some very talented people in our road department, and we're trying to stretch out every dollar we can. These projects are very important. And again, we can't thank you enough. And I know the folks in Brushy and Lower Johns Creek, over in Sookies Creek, and the people who have to either live over in Brushy, cross Ford Mountain. And that road, as you know, is a extremely dangerous road, but it's also heavily traveled. And I think this will improve public safety and will be a substantial benefit to the people who depend on those roads. I want to thank our members of our legislature, the legislature who are here. When Senator Wheeler was first elected and took office, we had him come in. And like I told him at that time, we've made him much more welcome than the former state senator was made to feel at times in this building.
That is very true, Judge.
But anyway, Representative Blanton, is there anything you'd like to say or anything you'd like to add?
Thank you, Judge. The only thing I would like to say is how refreshing it is for each of you all, from the judge and our commissioners throughout the county, to have such a strong working relationship together for the betterment of Pike County. And I appreciate each of you, because I know that anytime I call, you're there, And I hope you feel the same when you call me, that I'm there and we work together. And that is just such refreshment to have that type of working relationship. You all are doing a fine job. I know you had a lot of big issues to tackle, and it's like making a statute. You know, you take it out one chip at a time, and you're doing that. And so kudos to you all for the wonderful job you're doing and for the relationship we have. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Judge.
And we appreciate your service as well. Senator Wheeler, would you like to say a few words?
Judge, I'd just like to echo John's comments. I think this court has really gone over and above to try to address some areas of the county that really haven't been given their due in the past. I think Brushy Creek is one of them. I mean, I know I've talked to Ronnie several times. We're working on trying to get those folks some water over in there, and I mean, they have felt ignored, and I think that sometimes they blame it on politics. But what I've seen out of this court is they've attempted to govern above politics. They've really just had the vision for the improvement of this county. You know, I think you all have never hesitated to reach out to me. I've never hesitated to reach out to you. I think that we have a great relationship right now between our state delegations and our fiscal court here. There's a lot of good things happening, a lot of tough decisions that have been made to right our fiscal house, and I think that this court needs to be applauded for that. These weren't easy decisions, and there's some pain, but you know, there's just a lot of hope, I think, that we see out of the actions that are going on right now, and I look forward to continue working with this court to definitely improve Pike County, to really make it the economic engine of Eastern Kentucky that it has been, and I think will be in the future.
Senator, thank you. You're always welcome, like I said, Representative Blanton, and we always want to make sure we get the commissioner back up here. And Commissioner, you have an open seat here anytime you like. If you have any more discretionary money, we have some great places we can show you where we like to spend it. You've made these three guys over here pretty happy.
I tell you, Judge, you know, I know at the county level and at the state level, we're kind of strapped for cash, and we're just about being efficient with the funding that we do have. And like I said, again, just want to reiterate what a pleasure it's been to work with you. And this isn't, like I said, this isn't the end. This is just the beginning. And we're going to continue to work to move forward. I know, Judge, Fiscal Court, you will continue to make Pike County the best version of itself, absolutely.
One other thing I think that we need to mention, and I'm not sure, I think this may go back even to my tenure in the General Assembly when we passed the legislation that dealt with the excess coal severance tax that has been allocated. We received notice that Pike County is going to get about $1.452 million in additional LGEA money. And that's going to be beneficial because we budgeted $1 million this year, and that's way, way below what it was. I think, you know, just a few years ago, we were getting $5 million. And last year, they had budgeted $1.5 million and didn't receive that much. And this year, we budgeted $1 million, and the first quarter was below. We're not going to meet that $1 million. So that $1.4 million is going to be a big shot in the arm for our county. I think we were the second largest amount behind Union County. And that's going to help us do some things like replace some worn out highway or road department equipment. And when we have about 1,200 miles of county roads, and we came in, we started looking at the county records, we started looking at the state records, we started looking at the ad district records. None of them matched. We found situations where the county adopted 0.4 of a mile into their county road system, but we were paving a mile, or already taking care of a mile. Those kind of things. Roads that have been adopted into the county road system that probably shouldn't have been. And we are trying to clean that up. But the biggest problem we have is we don't have the manpower or equipment that we need. And that $1.4 million is likely going to be spent in part on some new equipment for our road department, which is desperately needed. And that's a huge, huge benefit. Again, thank you all very much. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Judge, while you're on that topic, we will be pushing, and I think we're going to be much more likely to be successful in this session to return 100% finally of the coal severance dollars back into the coal counties where they belong.
I introduced that legislation on multiple occasions. I can't remember what years it would be over that 18-year period, but you know, it was hard to do. At one point, you know, as recent as 2012, there was the coal severance was about $330 million in total revenue, half of which went to the general fund. And it was, you know, it was a big piece of the budget. But as most counties in the east and west have seen the coal severance tax just continue to decline, if we could get 100% back, it would be a tremendous, tremendous benefit to these counties.
And you're right, it has been tried for multiple years. It's been tried each year I've been there. But we're starting to see more support getting on board, and we're feeling very comfortable that this is going to be the session we're able to push that through.
And we have some significant problems. I don't think I'm explaining anything to you, but, you know, the members of the public need to realize, I mean, we're in an isolated area, no interstate highway. We have limited, and I think last week that our road supervisor and Commissioner Tackett were talking about the fact that, you know, they were down in Western Kentucky looking at a piece of equipment, or Central Kentucky, and you know, it was obvious, you know, they've got flat land. We don't have that, and and they, you know, when you combine, you know, the lack of flat land, the lack of an interstate, the lack of adequate rail service, and the lack of commercial air service, it is a huge problem. We're going to continue to try to focus on that, but any resources that we can get for Frankfurt will be greatly appreciated. Commissioner, we'll start with Commissioner Robertson. You'd like to add anything, sir?
I just want to thank you all, Mary, Commissioner, Representative Blanton, and our Senator Wheeler there. Thank you for giving us a good day down there about 3 weeks ago at the Capitol. We had a good time, and I feel like we got some things done down there.
I believe we did.
So I want to thank you all for that. Appreciate it.
I just want to thank you all. It's been enjoyment working with you, and hopefully we can keep on doing it for the next 3 years. Thank you all what you're doing for Eastern Kentucky and Pike County.
Yeah, I guess I'm following, I want to thank you so much and everything, and see if you can find us a lot more money down there too.
Gentlemen, is there anything else y'all like to add? Mary, anything you'd like to add?
Y'all know where I'm at. I'm local, so anytime you need me.
Mary takes great care of us up here, and the District 12 folks have been fantastic. If you would convey that message to Secretary Thomas and helping our road department. We've had questions, and they've been just absolutely a tremendous asset to the people of the county. We appreciate that.
Thanks again, appreciate it.
No, Joe.
We can, yes, we can. Yes, we're going to stand at ease just for a minute to grab a photograph. Not every day you get $936,000 that you don't expect.
Okay, that's fine. Or send it to my cell phone, 793.
Why not? Let me get you
You
in
did
there.
put me on speed dial. Need to be in our office telling our story.
Yeah,
You're
well.
telling theirs instead. When you gonna retire down there? Not for a while.
2 years. 2 years, not just 2 years.
Oh,
Yeah. What have I got?
I'm sorry, do what?
Shift.
Okay, this is your cell phone, right?
All right, we are back in session, and I want to, just as a courtesy, ask Pike County Sheriff Rodney Scott if he would like to come forward, because the next two presentations are going to be a little bit more lengthy. Sheriff, you can come over there, you can come over here and sit down, either way you like.
I'll stand right here, Judge. Thank you. This is just an amendment to our budget. You know, our budget has to be in by the 15th of January. Thanks to the court and thanks to having a good year last year, we was able to get some extra money from the court, and the school board also has a grant, which they're helping us with our school resource officers, and they've given us some money, so it's just adding that into our budget.
We were glad to be of help, and you guys are doing a great job. We appreciate that. And is there a motion to approve the general term order amended dated August 6, 2019, reflecting the budget from the Pike County Sheriff's Office?
Motion.
A motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Booth. Is there any question or discussion? Ms. Stacy, have you had an opportunity to review it?
Have not.
You want to take a look at it? Is there any?
I've got a copy.
All right. Any questions that you might have?
Judge, he's explained it to me.
Seeing no other question or discussion, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Sheriff, thank you very much. If you need anything else, you let us know. The next matter on the agenda is we'd like to ask our solid waste consultant from Geosyntec, Mr. Thomas Ramsey, to come to the table. We also have Mr. Larry Hensley, our landfill manager, and Mr. Chuck Morley, who is the acting route manager. If you guys would like to come on up and join Mr. Ramsey at the table. Tom, welcome. It's good seeing you again.
Thank you, Judge.
And we appreciate the work that you've done on behalf of the Pike County Solid Waste Department. And we appreciate the professionalism and transparency and the diligence that you've shown. I know there's a lot of information that we have to present here tonight. It may take a while, but you have the floor, sir.
Certainly, thank you. Just wanted to provide an update from my last visit to the court back in June. At that time, we were discussing the expansion of the landfill and what the steps would be required to complete that. As you know from my last discussions out here, in my opinion, the landfill has about 5 years of disposal space left in it. And as a result of that, obviously for the long-term disposal needs of the county, we need to move forward with an expansion as soon as possible. The typical period of time that's required within the Commonwealth to permit an expansion such as this would be at least 2 years. And then on top of that, in order to prepare construction documents and then have the first portion of the expanded landfill constructed would be another year. So we're looking at easily 3 years before we are ready to get with the additional disposal space ready for the county. So because of that, we are in the window where we need to move forward. In our last meeting when I was here, the fiscal court very kindly approved about $5,900 for the very first piece of a 4-step plan for the expansion of the landfill. That first piece was to revise the solid waste management plan for the county. The current solid waste management plan, which was updated just last year, did not consider the need for an expansion. So I will talk about a little bit later on about a resolution that I would request that the fiscal court review and approve. In addition to that, we are starting with the remaining 3 phases of the expansion, the first piece of which is the notice of intent to permit. The second piece that will follow immediately after that, a little bit later this fall, is the administrative application. And then my anticipation is that after that, which will be next year, for the next fiscal year, we will need to put together the technical application. So I'm here before you this evening to request approval for budgeting for the remaining 3 tasks of proposal that we had discussed back in June from Geosyntec Consultants that would involve the effort required to complete the notice of intent to permit and the administrative application, as well as the additional effort that would be required to address state comments and others that we would expect that normally come from this kind of work. That total effort that requesting this evening is outlined for you on our budget that we had given previously. It's $215,136. I recognize that is a substantial amount of money. However, the Commonwealth's regulations for solid waste are exhaustive and very detailed, and that's what, in our opinion, would be required to move forward at this time with the notice of intent and the administrative application.
So,
please.
Earlier today, you explained to me that we would need to be in a position next summer to start the, would that be construction, or would it be
The technical application. What I am anticipating is that the notice of intent to permit would be submitted in September. And then we would be moving forward immediately on the administrative application while the Division of Waste Management is reviewing and commenting on the notice of intent to permit. As soon as that is approved, which I would expect later in the fall, we would submit the administrative application immediately thereafter. I would anticipate that that will take some number of months, again, for the Division of Waste Management to approve. So then the technical application, which is not part of this proposal because I did not see it occurring in this fiscal year, that would start in the next fiscal year, take that fiscal year, and then we would do construction following. So that's the 3 years that I had discussed.
So we would do the application this year, the design next year.
Correct.
The next fiscal year, and then the 3rd fiscal year would be start the construction of the re-permitting of the landfill site.
Right, the first phase of construction to get the new expanded disposal space that would be permitted.
And it would be your preference that we would be able to pay as we go in terms of the construction rather than having to go back and do what the last court did. See, a lot of folks may not realize that the county is still paying for the current phase, the construction of the current phase of the landfill that we're running right now.
Correct.
But if we could pay as we would go, it would be more financially advantageous for the county.
Correct.
Not to incur the debt, to free money up for free bonding capacity for other things, assuming we get our credit rating restored.
Absolutely. Well, with the rate adjustment that the court had passed earlier this year, and additional efforts that are going on within the solid waste department to be more efficient with the collection and the operations and the expenses that are involved for collection and disposal at the county operation, the goal would be to be able to save enough money so that when you get to the point where we're moving to construction, which will be several $1 million easily, that you will already have that money saved so that work can be paid out of cash as opposed to having to take debt financing for that.
And we're making progress on our financial side, you know, but it's assuming that things continue on the current path, which is what we're hopeful. Our collections are up.
Yes.
I really think it's important that people understand that until this court came in, we had about 3.5 years left on this landfill. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
And no one had done anything to get ready to expand it.
Correct. In fact, as we mentioned before, the solid waste plan, which is the very first document that moves forward on that, specifically stated that no expansion was needed at this time. for the next 5-year planning period, when that was not the case.
And in fact, the amount of material last year going into the landfill actually went up.
Correct.
Now, that could be because there were some buildings that were torn down that went into it, things like that. But it would be catastrophic for, you know, the people, for the fiscal court to sit back, wait till the landfill's full, and then say, oh, what are we going to do with 60,000 tons of garbage every year?
Correct.
At that point, the options would be very limited.
And very expensive. The next options that would be out there would be having to truck all that waste to the next closest facilities, commercial facilities that would accept it would either be in Ashland or outside of Lexington. So you're talking about 80-plus mile one-way hauls, all of the additional equipment required to take that 60,000 tons out there, the facility that would have to be built to load those trucks. It would be millions and millions of dollars that would be unbudgeted.
And we were convinced that, you know, one of the things I think that was the driving factor for us to go the path that we're going is at first we were told that we couldn't re-permit the landfill. You think we can get another 50 years on the same site?
Yes, I do believe
Which
so.
is clearly cheaper than buying a new site, developing a new landfill, or trucking it to Ashland. I think it was 100, we looked at it, was over 100 miles to the Big Run landfill.
Correct.
And each way.
Correct.
And one of the things that, that this court was concerned about is what impact it would have on the ratepayers. I think this is the most reasonable, most cost efficient for the people who pay the trash bills. And
that is certainly my opinion as well. Yes.
now I'm going to shift gears a little bit. You know, your company did a routing plan to help us potentially move to a 4-day pickup schedule. And the thoughts that we had would be that, and this is something Commissioner Booth was very, you know, when he came in, he said, you know, we've got too many drivers, we've got too much inefficiency, we've got trucks that are finishing, you know, their work for the day at 11 or 12 o'clock, and then the employee's sitting there on the clock doing nothing for the rest of the day. And we were thinking, okay, if we could free up Mondays to do maintenance, you know, repairs, preventive maintenance. Now, we've run into some issues. Chuck has, you know, has got a lot of experience. He's probably worked every route in the county. There are some issues. You know, first of all, there are some commercial customers that have 5-day pickup. How do we deal with that? We're looking at something that I need you to talk to Chuck about before the night's over. You may have already done it, is if we go to 4-day pickup, are we going to have to modify our permit to change the hours that solid waste will be in operation, or change the hours of operation of the landfill? And, you know, funny story, I have to tell this. So we had a company bring down, I think it was an 11-yard truck, and Chuck and Fitch Reed, who is the Johns Creek solid waste foreman, we took it out up some hollers to see if it would work. And, you know, the situation we've dealt with is there's so many people that have been unhappy with solid waste. They're just looking to make complaints. And this lady flags them down and says, are you not going to pick my garbage up? They said, well, you know, we're just demoing this truck. It's never had any garbage in it. It looks like it, you know, looks perfectly clean. And they said, no, the truck is behind us. They're going to stop and pick your garbage up. Before they could even get back to the office, she had called a formal complaint in because they stopped to pick her garbage up. And then they had another gentleman flag them down and accuse them of making a mess because of stuff leaking out of the truck. Well, there was never a piece of garbage ever put in this truck. And it may be because of the poor service, and, you know, people are just unhappy because of the rate increases, but we do have to overcome that, and we're trying to do that. And my big concern, and something that we're going to need you to work with Chuck, and at some point here in the next few weeks, my deadline has moved. I had hoped to have this done by July 1st and August 1st. But with the problems and issues that we've come up with, you know, the commercial customers, the hours of the landfill, because we're still going to have to keep it open on Monday, I want to make sure we measure 3 or 4 times and cut once, because this is a big change, and if it's not done right and there's problems, it's going to start us on a, you know, it's going to create problems with customer service. It's going to create problems with public perception. And we want to make sure it's done right from the beginning. So what we'll probably do is when Chuck finishes his plan in modification of what your company's done, we want to sit down, we have to sit down with Larry to make sure that we can cover the landfill if we do go to 4-day, what we're going to do on Monday, because there's people going to still be bringing trash in on Monday. And I'm going to let Chuck talk about the issues he's found. But we're not going to just impose an arbitrary deadline and say we're going to do it. We're going to have some folks that worked in solid waste in the past. We're going to have myself, Reggie, at least one of the commissioners. And we're going to have to lock ourselves in a room and we're going to hash this out and make sure that if we go to 4-day pickup, that it is in the best interest of the customers in the solid waste department, because there's a lot of money to be saved. But if it's not done right from the beginning, it's going to be a bigger problem.
Correct.
So, Chuck, where are we on this? I'd ask you to be able to give us an update.
Well, Judge, I have actually got a 4-day week laid out for every lot. And we've talked to each foreman. They've looked at it and had their input on it. But I do have concerns about implementing this thing, because I feel like if we have any problems with the truck breaking down, somebody calls in sick, and we've got our days so full, how do we cover those days? That's some things we talked about earlier today and we still need to discuss. I mean, the 4-day week definitely has merit, but we just got to figure out, like you said, we got to cut this thing 2 or 3 times. I mean, measure it through 2 or 3 times before we cut. And there's just a lot to it. I found maybe some of the equipment wasn't compacting like it should. The garage has looked at that, and we should have better results. You know, I should know something next day or two on that. I think Darren had the part come in today that he needed to fix that packer. So we get our compaction rate up on our trucks where they should be, and I mean, it'd be easier for me to look at these things, but I do have some concern about the 4-day week.
And let's talk just so the public will understand this. When our solid waste trucks come across the scales, we can tell, we know how much they weigh empty. We can tell how much garbage they've got in them.
Correct.
And we had garbage truck drivers, packer drivers, that drive the big trucks, saying that they're full.
They're full.
But the scale showed they weren't.
Right.
And
it turned out to be a problem with the truck. I mean, it wasn't driver error. There was a problem.
And it was a lot of different trucks.
Right.
Because there was a hydraulic issue.
Right.
And you and Judge Hickman sort of figured that out.
Right.
And had anybody ever looked at something like that before?
To be honest, I do not know. But I mean, it became apparent I was going to have to look at things like this as we talked about going to a 4-day week, because we got to be sure we can hold the garbage. If we tell somebody today's their garbage day and we can't hold it, then that's a problem.
And that's the thing with the 4-day, you know, we're dependent on being able to load the trucks to their maximum capacity. And if their hydraulics aren't working right and you can't, then you're going to have garbage that doesn't get picked up.
Exactly.
And was it a representative that you and Judge Hickman had come down from the manufacturer or from the company that we bought them from?
Company we bought them from.
So we have identified a problem with the valve in the hydraulic system. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So it's a simple, inexpensive fix, but could save the county a substantial amount of money.
Darren told me it was a fairly simple thing to do once he understood what needed to be done to correct the problem.
And nobody ever looked at that issue before.
I don't know if it was ever reported. You know, I don't know. All I know is I made a comment to the garage that I didn't think we was getting maximum capacity on our trucks, and they began to look at it.
Yeah. Okay. So what other issues do you think we're going to have to look at in terms of, let me ask you this, if we didn't go to a 4-day pickup, how do you improve the service on these trucks? And JJ, you may want to come up here and talk about this if you want to come on up for a second. Just, you know, he may want to add this. But how do you find time? Because, you know, either way, you're still going to have to find time to work on these trucks. We don't have enough spare trucks. Is that true?
It's true.
And the Dodges are still staying broke down?
Broke down. We had one broke down today.
2 of the 6 right now, JJ, broke down? And, I mean, some of this stuff should never have been bought, but we're stuck with, I think, we thought that the county had bought those trucks. Turns out that they're part of a lease that we still owe 42 months on. And we're trying to find a way to see if we could buy those trucks out of the lease so we can get rid of them.
That leaves you with the problem that the trucks we're running is 10 and 13 years old. I mean, they're time to be retired, but we're having to deal with these Dodges.
How many trucks do we need right now, Chuck?
It wouldn't hurt to replace the whole fleet of mini packers, which would be 12 trucks. It wouldn't hurt a thing. I mean, they're all getting age on them like the JJ, starting to have trouble by the wiring harnesses. I mean, they're just.
So the newest mini packers are the Dodges they're 15 or 16 model year trucks, right? And you've got, how many of them we had trouble with, JJ?
The Dodge?
Yes.
Every one of them. We've had 2 engines replaced, we've had 2 transmissions replaced, we got one over now with the transmission that if we put the bed back on it, the transmission won't hold up. It's ready to. And we got one over at Moore's now with a TCM bad in it.
Now, how many of them are still under warranty?
They're, well, the running gears, the engine and the drivetrain has still got some warranty, but the rest of it's ours.
So we're having to spend quite a bit of money, I would assume, trying to keep these on the road. Then we've got, the GMCs, what year do we have? 03s?
06 isn't.
06 and 09s. I've got all 03s out. Mission now, and we've got 06 and 09s.
And you've had to use the older ones to find parts for the 06 and 09?
Just as me and Fiscal was talking yesterday about the wiring harness, we contacted GM and the wiring harness that we need for the truck is no longer offered.
Well, what we're going to have to do is, we're getting this extra coal severance tax money, and it's going to have to be spent, in my opinion, on equipment for solid waste until we can get it more financially sound. And we're going to have to replace some of the mini packers. I know Commissioner Robertson's looked at this, Commissioner Booth. What are your thoughts on it, gentlemen?
We are going to have to replace those mini packers. I mean, but we're going to have to, if we're going to go to 4 days a week, then we'll have to figure out the bigger mini packers, how many of them we're going to need and how many small ones we're going to need. And if we don't go to 4 days a week, then do we just stay with the smaller mini packers? I mean,
To be honest, we run the 11-yard packer yesterday. There was so much garbage we had to pass up because we got so many places that just got 2 or 3 houses on. And when you pull up in there, you've got nowhere to turn because you pull up there, you're going to be turning somebody's driveway. That's the issue. And, as bad as I'd like to get away from the 6 yards myself, the way the terrain and things is around here, I don't see any way away from them. Because we go, some of these haulers are just so small that, I mean, what you'd be doing is run the bigger mini packer in there and then turn right around and run the smaller one right behind it. It's basically
what about the 8-yard?
I mean, I've not had the chance to try one out. And the fact that they dump their rear load and you can't dump them on the packer, we got to work that issue out too. What to do with it when you get it loaded. See, the 6 yards we're running now, we dump on the packer, directly onto the packer, so.
Chuck, can we put an 8-yard packer on a 26,000 GVW truck?
Put an 8-yard, well, you wouldn't need that. That'd be too big of a truck for the 8-yard. They're pretty much, 5,500, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but we need to get away from light duty trucks.
But, the truck size is what concerns me about having to turn on somebody's driveway or
Yeah, I know the Freightliner, it's too big to put
Which
on.
me and Charles is going to Buchanan County next Wednesday to look at, because, they're pretty much like us. They're deep in the hollers and see how they run their packers and see if we can get any ideas from them. I mean,
I think all they run is 20 yards.
Yep, 20s.
I think something does need to be pointed out. A lot of people want to compare air fees or what we charge for some of the other counties. So if you go to Floyd County, they don't use mini packers because if you live in a holler, they don't come up your holler. They go to where, where the big packers can turn, usually the school bus turn or something like that, and you got to take your garbage down there.
Correct.
You know, the service that we provide, Tom, how many places that you've seen around the country, rural areas, provide the kind of trash service that we do for what we charge?
None, honestly. The description that you've got with Floyd County, and I fully expect when Chuck goes to Buchanan County, he's going to see the same thing, that everybody who's on a road that's too small for a 20-yard rear load truck to get up, they're expected to bring their waste all the way down to the public road, whatever size that is, for that truck to work. And in many rural counties don't even have collection services. They have convenience centers, and everybody has to bring their residential waste to those convenience centers.
Well, and you know, I talked to some folks this weekend who live in Tennessee, and, you know, they say it's just so hard to do that. You know, load it up in a car. You don't have a truck, you're loading a bunch of garbage into your car, and hauling it to, you know, several miles to, you know, that's not going to work here. And, you know, some people say, well, Virginia does it. Well, if you look at what comes into Fish Trap, we know it doesn't work real well.
Correct.
A lot of it ends up in the creeks and the streams and, you know, ends up in Kentucky. You see how much we cleaned up this year. A lot of it came in from Virginia. Chuck, one of the issues that we looked at, though, and Judge Hickman, I'm going to let you address this issue about a transfer station. This is something that you and Commissioner Robertson have looked at pretty closely.
The what?
Transfer station.
The compactor that we've been,
Yeah, I mean, well, Commissioner Booth is the one that showed us about it. And then when we went over there and looked at it, I thought that's the way to go.
If you tell us a little bit about just tell the folks what we're looking at. And
Well, what we do would be like our mini packers, or even our big packers, we can go in there and dump at Robertson Creek, and we wouldn't be running the truck all the way from one end of the county all the way to the mill, to the Ford Mountain, you know, and then we can put it in the closed containers and bring it to the landfill. It should save us some on fuel, plus wear and tear on the truck.
we was up there today, Ronnie, and Tom actually looked at and he's got experience in.
Yeah, I've been involved in several rural counties, most recently King George County, Virginia, that had put in a similar type transfer station. And what Chuck is talking about and the idea was coming about is very consistent with what I've seen, which is, from the big picture, we're talking about trying to make the collection system here more efficient. And so if it's more efficient, then that spends the taxpayer's dollar better, obviously. So to make it more efficient, your collection vehicle is most efficient when it is on the route collecting the waste from individual homes. And the less time it spends just driving down the road to get to the landfill, the more efficient the overall route is. So the idea is, because of the desire to provide a very high level of service for the citizens here, and the fact of the geography of Pike County with hollows and very small roads that go into them, being forced into these very small vehicles, being the 6-yard or something very similar to that, that if we build a couple of large compactor boxes at the existing transfer stations that the county owns right now, that you can then get those mini packers to transfer their waste quickly at the local yards and then get back on the route again. And then a larger truck that is more efficient at hauling that and much less expensive then takes the longer route to the landfill.
So, for instance, you know, talking about the size of the county, the stone solid waste lot is actually, the trucks are kept at Johns Creek.
Correct.
So every day, those drivers have to drive all the way over to the Pond Creek area or Blackberry, wherever it may be. They pick the garbage up, and then I assume most of them are transferring into the big packers. But they're still having to drive back at the end of the day to Johns Creek. If we had transfer stations where instead of having to run the packers and the mini packers all over the county back to the, you know, for 2 of the 4 lots back to Johns Creek every day. I mean, if you get trucks driving from you go pick the truck up, you drive to Pawpaw, and then you have to drive it back to Johns Creek at the end of the day. If we have places that we could put, you know, Phelps, Turkey Creek, Robertson Creek, if we could do some transfer stations, and that way you're only having to send the big trucks over to pick the dumpsters up or the compactors up like the city of Pike does. Brian, it works pretty well, doesn't it?
It works real well, and I think that'd be his answer to your 5-day pickup in the South Williamson area. If you had a transfer station over, you could take a 20-yard packer and pick up everything probably in 3 or 4 hours and have it dumped in your transfer station, be parked up on your one day, like on your Monday or something.
It would seem like it would save fuel, the time driving back and forth.
Save everything.
And if you can get your packer trucks down to a smaller size packer, you're gonna save money there too, because they're cheaper than the 32
And
yards.
that keeps us from dumping the mini packer, waiting on the big packer to dump
Right.
into it too.
Belcher will be dumping at Robertson Creek. Is that what we talking about, Reggie?
Yeah. Yes.
Marbone, Greasy,
Everything in the upper end of the county.
we come to Robertson Creek.
If we started Robinson Creek being probably the first transfer station that we would build, what do you think the cost that we could do this for? And this Paul may have, I know Paul's looked at this, Commissioner, Supervisor, you won't come up here and just tell us? I mean, we've got to figure out, you know, if it may be more expensive up front, but is it going to save us money in the long term? That's the question.
Charles has been working on what it's going to take to put it in. So I really don't have a figure on what the total is going to cost. But, you know, if we can work something out with the city with their transfer station, their old one, then we'll just be out concrete wall. And most of it we can do in-house, so.
Tom, do we have to permit a transfer station?
They're currently permitted, but there would have to be a modification to that permit to reflect the change.
Do we have to have any kind of leachate collection system at the transfer station or anything like that?
There is not one right now. I would expect that there probably will be required, because what's going into the transfer stations right now is almost all demolition debris and bulky waste and not so much household garbage. And now we're talking about putting the mini packers that have household garbage. So I think you would probably have to put a collection system there, yes.
Judge, we have that in the design.
Correct.
To do that.
So do any of y'all have anything else, Chuck? The big thing is we're going to have at some point in the near future a meeting with all the stakeholders and figure out what trucks we need, 4 or 5 day. You know, do we need all 6-yard mini packers? Do we need a combination? And, you know, are we going to try to have a spare packer and a mini packer sitting around? Because, you know, with this fleet, it's just a matter of time to where some of them break down and we can't pick it up. That's just a fact. And we need to do this.
We're actually blessed to get through the day now without, I mean, it's that bad.
And we've had some pickups not get made because trucks are breaking down. Is that?
I mean, we've had them have to wait till way up in the day, and people get excited, think we're not coming because we're just waiting to get a truck back on the road. It is starting to affect our service. It truly is.
JJ, I think we talked about this before, but we've got one packer that we've already spent $600,000+ on. Is that right?
It's over there now. We've got to do complete base job. I don't know how much it will be. We've got a mini packer, one of the 09s. It's got a rear end out of it. We'll finish up in the morning.
So we're spending a lot of money on these older trucks, just keeping them on the road. How many packers do we need, Chuck?
Well, we've got 6 packers. We definitely need to get rid of the one JJ's talking about, that $2 million packer, they call it jokingly, but it has become very expensive. It definitely needs to come off the road.
But can we go to a smaller packer if we get this route figured out instead of buying
If we go
30-some yard?
Right, if we go to the transfer station, we could.
We've got to figure this out quickly, and we need to figure out what a cost estimate so we can try to figure out what we can afford. I mean, what we'd like to do and what we can afford to do are 2 separate things, because there will be some cost to buying compactors, transfer stations, re-permitting or, modifying the permits for those sites. So, Chuck, do you have a time frame for me when we could sit down and look at some of this stuff?
Well, I mean, we need to be sitting down as quickly as possible. I got some stuff together we could all look at.
So when Charles will have the stuff, when on the, he's not here tonight, I don't think, but when will he's back here. Charles, when will you have the estimates on the transfer station cost? Okay. As soon as we get those, then we need to sit down. I'd like to get Rex Lockhart, that, worked at Solid Waste for a long time, to come in, look at it, give us his opinion. Get Tom's folks from Geosyntec, bring our foreman in, and just hash this out and figure out what we're going to do. Because we need to make a decision. So you've got your 4-day plan worked out. Can you get me a list this week of the issues that you think, the big issues about going to 4-day pickup? And just sort of your thoughts on it.
Some of those places you couldn't turn in is like they could back up in, because sometimes I spend more time backing than you do going. Come down a holler, go to the head, turn them down, real long, they can just back up in there.
I thought about that while we was out yesterday. I think maybe once they got I'd hate to put somebody in a place and get them, cause them trouble. They go to backing up and get over in the ditch or over in the creek, but probably once they got used to the area, you know how that goes. After you get used to driving in a place, you figure out the easiest way to get there, and it may make it more manageable. But
You think with the camera and mirror.
right. But ideally, I'd hate to see a packer backing up, a holler. I really would. I mean, a short distance.
11 yards, if they could back up.
Did you run into a lot of places yesterday where it was just hard to turn?
Actually, no. The problem was that the place you ended up turning was in somebody's private driveway. There was no good wide spot to turn without actually. And then once you got that truck loaded, that's when you'd have,
Then we can't master blacktop, crack it.
because it really actually had a good turning radius. I mean, I was surprised at where we could turn it, but it just involved getting off the county road to turn it. That was my major concern with it.
Tom, I got a question. From day one, since you've been here with us, and Larry's been up Landfill, what's the difference from then to now?
No, it's been since night and day. I still remember quite vividly the first time I visited the fiscal court that we spent a good hour talking about, I think, 4 or 5 notices of violation that were still outstanding and had been outstanding for a number of months. Those have gone away. I can tell you the condition of the landfill is light years ahead of where it was before. Waste is being properly packed. It's being put in at proper grades. We're seeing stormwater being shed out of the landfill instead of allowed to soak into it. When water gets into a landfill, bad things happen. You end up having to collect it at the bottom and then pay money to get it hauled off. The volume of leachate, which is the liquid coming out of the bottom of the landfill, has dropped significantly. I think more importantly than that, one of the things I was talking with Larry about today was a good indication that things are not going well is when the amount of leachate that you collect spikes immediately with a rain event, because that tells you that something's just going straight into the landfill, and that was very high before, and it's gone down quite a bit. There's always a little bit of an increase when you get rain. Obviously, that's what generates it, but you just don't want to have a straight line spike coming with every rain event, and that's not occurring anymore. So things are much better. Objectively, the number of flat tires that customers are in the county are experiencing from getting in and out of the landfill, its ability to operate in all weather conditions is clearly improved. So things are much better, without a doubt.
Okay. So maybe the permit, and we're looking good as far as that.
We're on the beginning of a long road, so
Okay.
yes, I'm very confident that we will get it ultimately, but we'll go through a little pain and suffering to get there. I can assure you that the Commonwealth here is very strict in its demands and review of permits related to solid waste management.
But it looks better at this situation it was.
Much better, yes.
Okay.
Much better. And I think we're in a better place to help speed that application along, because the Division of Waste Management is not excited about giving an expansion to an entity that is not operating its landfill properly. When it's being operated well, then that gives them the confidence to then give you the expanded life going into the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Larry.
I just want to thank you for staying with us, Tom.
Well, I very much appreciate, this is a great place to come. I very much appreciate having the confidence of the court. It means a lot to me, and we certainly are committed as a company to serving you to the best of our ability.
Thank you.
Tom, there's some business that we need to do. You have a resolution that we need to pass. It says, whereas the Pike Fiscal Court provides solid waste disposal services for its citizens through the Pike County landfill located in Meade, Kentucky, and whereas the ability of the landfill to provide services for many decades into the future is necessary provision of environmentally sound and economical solid waste services within the county, and whereas the existing Pike County landfill as currently permitted does not have the permitted capacity required to provide the long-term disposal services needed, and whereas the Pike County Fiscal Court has discussed this need and its intent to pursue a landfill expansion at its fiscal court meetings in April, May, and June of 2019, and whereas the fiscal court is required to issue a determination of consistency with the Pike County Area Solid Waste Management Plan pursuant to KRS 224-40-315, subparagraph 1, to increase the tonnage volume of airspace for Pike County landfill. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Pike County Fiscal Court is the governing body for the Pike County Solid Waste Management Area, hereby determines that the expansion of the Pike County landfill with the total capacity of 15 million cubic yards is consistent with the Pike County Area Solid Waste Management Plan, with the plan to be modified accordingly. And you have provided us with an application. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution and to authorize the county judge executive to sign the application to amend the Area Solid Waste Management Plan? We have a motion by Commissioner, three motions. We have a motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Booth. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth? Yes. Judge Jones?
Yes.
We dropped the
Then we also have a need to authorize the notice of intent to permit at a cost of $30,853, and the preparation of the administrative application for the expansion in the amount of $161,309. Do we also need to do the fourth one? And also the project management fee of $22,974. Is there a motion to authorize payment of the notice of intent to permit in the amount of $30,853, the administrative application at the cost of $161,309, and the project management fee of $22,974? We have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Tackett. Is there any other question or discussion? I do have, once we've taken care of this, and this is something we talked about when we authorized the revision of the solid waste management plan a couple of months back, what will be the next outlay of capital after we take care of getting the administrative application done? Would that be the design?
Correct. That would be the technical application, which is the design, and that would occur, I would anticipate the approval for that would be needed in the next fiscal year, that this work will take us through June of next year.
And what do you anticipate the cost of that will be?
I haven't worked up the details, so but a caveat that, but I would expect it to be on the order of about $250,000.
All right. So, and then when we start construction for the initial phase of the expansion, that first phase for construction, what are we looking at?
I would expect a round number would be on the order of $4 million, somewhere like that.
All right. And that's in the third year?
Correct.
All right.
I would be happy, Judge Jones, to put together a little bit better detail on the timing and the amounts that I would expect. I could submit that.
We need some more detail because, you know, I don't think that this court's taking the approach that we're just looking at, you know, next week or next month. We're trying to look 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road so that future fiscal courts don't walk into the situation we did where you have, you know, a landfill that's rapidly filling up with no money put aside to do anything about it.
Correct.
So we would like to have a long-term plan to guarantee the sustainability of the landfill and the solid waste program. So if you could do that for us, it would be help us budget as we go forward.
I would be happy to do that.
All right. We have a motion and a second and no other comments or questions. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on this vote.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Tom, do you have anything else you'd like to add, sir?
I do not, other than to thank you very much again for your confidence in us, and we are racing forward because we know the time is of the essence.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, you have anything else? Next up on the agenda, we have James and Teresa Thomas, who are the proprietors at the East Kentucky Marina and Water Park. And we've asked them to come in and tell us a little bit about what they're doing. And hopefully that our work with Pride and the cleanup efforts that the court has engaged in will offer some assistance to them and help create some jobs. Welcome, folks. And as I explained to you when we talked last week, we do have a member of the board of directors of the Pike County Health Department. And there was an issue that I'd like for you at the end just to explain to Judge Hickman. We believe that local government agencies should be trying to help entrepreneurs, people who are trying to create jobs instead of being a barrier. So I think it will be worth your while to let him know so he can look into this matter a little bit more through his position on the Health Department Board.
Absolutely.
Well, first of all, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your efforts up at Fish Trap.
I'm Teresa Thomas, and this is my husband, James Thomas. We actually acquired Fish Trap, well, it was actually called Appalachian Marina, back in the 1st of April. And we had no intentions on purchasing a marina, much less anything else. But back at the first of the year, we had decided that we needed an outdoor type store for this area. We got tired of, my husband got tired of having to either order online, go out of state, or anything like that. So we decided that we were going to do something like that. Well, when we were approached about the marina, the first thing that we did was start thinking outside of the box. We wanted to turn this marina that had basically been dilapidated and neglected over the years into something that our fishermen would love, but at the same token, we wanted our lake, which I grew up on Lower Pompey, so that was my backyard. And he was always on the lake. We wanted that area to be a place that could bring in tourism for this area. We had heard so many different rumors about things coming into the area, and then we, like, over the years, we get our hopes up, and then it wouldn't. And then having 3 kids of our own, we honestly got tired of having to take our kids out of state to do things that we could easily do in this area. So our main goal with opening our marina, our Waves Water Park, our landslide area was mainly just to allow families in our area to get out of the house, do something, be able to take their kids on a mini vacation or a vacation in general, because there's a lot of people in our area that they cannot take their kids to Dollywood. They can't take their kids out of state to do things. And why not take the beauty that we have in our backyard and utilize that into an area that our kids can have a wonderful summer, everything like that. So we literally raced the clock, basically, to get, yeah, we still are. We're still improving every day. This Waves Water Park that you're seeing here and our landslide area, that is basically a, how do we say it? Just basically saying, hey, we are making changes. We are doing this. This isn't where we're stopping. We want this area to be a tourist destination. We don't want it to just be an area that we can utilize, but we want it to be a tourist destination nationwide. We plan on making a restaurant for the area. We plan on cabins. We have multiple different things in our 10-year plan that would not only utilize the beauty that we have in our backyard, but also bring in people from other areas. We have been open since June 29th, and that is just for our Waves Water Park and for our Landslide Water Park.
We had to submit a 5-year plan
Yes.
as part of our business plan to the Corps of Engineers, because we work as an out grant, as a leasee
Yes.
through the Corps of Engineers, and we didn't expect them to approve some of the things that we had put on this plan, but they didn't even bat an eye. I mean, they automatically approved everything we had on it, so.
Yes, and our plans, I mean, like I said, this is great, what we've done this year so far, and we love seeing the turnout that we've had, not only from our community, but we have records showing people already since June 29th traveling into our state from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, Illinois, and we even had at least 4 families that we know of that we actually met in person that came all the way here from California just because of our Waves Water Park.
We actually had the numbers.
Yeah, we actually have the numbers, yeah.
Corps of Engineers had just pulled their traffic counters, and these numbers are for cars, and then they normally multiply this number by about 2.5 to represent 2.5 to 3 people per car, but.
And some of these are with buses and everything that we know had more than this. But as of July, our numbers from this year versus last year, we increased the tourist, I guess you would say, traffic, use of the park in general, by 27,000 people.
That's amazing.
And 1 month. We've been open, well, 25 days, if you count the days that we've been closed because of weather and everything like that. In 25 days, 27,000 people have visited our park. And
Counted off 14,025 cars that went by their traffic counter. And also, the fireworks celebration that this is, that this is on, we had that in June, at the end of June this year. Last year, their numbers are actually boosted a little for July because their fireworks celebration last year was in July. So they, I think they said they had 4,000 to 5,000 people for that.
yeah, and
last year
that would
total, they
make
had
sense because the
100
other
cars.
numbers from like May and June of last year, anywhere between 1,200 to 1,600 and everything. So July, without the 4th of July celebration that they had, would have probably been about 1,600 to 2,000 and everything. Our numbers for just vehicles alone was 14,025. And that's with us opening on June 29th. And actually, it started back in May, seeing a 4 times increase in numbers of traffic, and that was just purely for the curiosity of people in the area, because we would see people sitting there watching us do work and getting, like, the water park together in general was comical and everything, but we would see people come up there. They would come up and actually thank us, which kind of threw us back and everything. They were excited to see something coming into their area. But like we said, this is just basically our start. I mean, we're not stopping. We're getting ready to hit into the fall season. We plan on making a tourist thing, like a fair, fall fair for everyone in the community and surrounding areas. When we hit into our winter months, we have plans to make it into a winter type wonderland and everything, because even though the water goes down during the winter, there's tons of boaters that love to come out there. We do plan on doing things for our boaters and stuff as well. We don't want to neglect the lake whatsoever, because my husband, he'd have my hide if I did anything that hurt the fishermen.
So my question is, now, do you have to take this down at the end of the season and store it?
Yes, this part we do.
It's a lot of work, I would suspect.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be a lot of work each and every year. But I will say, we are happy to say that since we started this, we have been able to employ a total of 28 employees full-time.
That's amazing.
So that in itself, being a new business, we love having people from our area starting out. And I mean, we have some high school students that they love it, and they make great money, and they love doing their job. They're outdoors and everything. And
It's just nice to see kids get outside again. I mean, there's
Instead
no
of
video
being on
games
that.
going on, there's no laptop, there's no iPad. They're out there enjoying nature.
yeah, and
We grew up.
that's our main focus for everything that we're doing up there. We're just trying to make this into something that maybe years down the road, once we do have other things in line, maybe another investor from another area be like, oh, okay, well, they invested in this, so why shouldn't we? Bring more investors into our area, build it up and stuff like this will make jobs. And as we grow, we will make more jobs. And we've already got other local businesses in our area saying that they've already had to hire more people to accommodate the traffic
I
that's been
think
coming through there.
sheriffs had to send out, I think they've had 2 deputies there every day we've been open from 3 till 8 in the evening every day because the Coors Park Rangers don't have enough rangers to cover the actual population of people that are there.
And the Corps has been very helpful with us.
I would love to personally dispel any rumor, because I know before we had purchased the marina, we heard a lot. I mean, it was like they were the scapegoat most of the time.
Yeah.
The Corps of Engineers doesn't do this, they don't do that, they won't let you do this. They've
That
been
is
with
not
us
the case.
every step of the way. I mean, they have been over backwards at times to help us.
It's like they're our co-workers instead of, well, when we first even had this in our minds, the first thing that we did was literally stop into the Corps' office before we even went to look at the marina.
And from that day, the lake manager,
just
Rodney
been
Holbrook, he
amazing.
actually met us at the door and brought us into his office and sat down. I guess we were there for about an hour, and
And
kinda
they
helped
were
us make our
excited to
mind
see
up.
someone wanting to come in and do something new with what we had up there. And we've had no problems with them. We've had no problems with like the county. I mean, everybody has been amazing except for a few little issues that we've had.
And we'll talk about that in a second. Rodney Holbrook, and I do want to commend the folks at the Corps. They have worked closely with us in terms of the cleanup efforts. Is the lake still holding up pretty well?
It's amazing.
we get a lot of credit for it when it's not
Yeah.
as much as, I don't think us by ourselves, or the Corps of Engineers by themselves, or the county for that matter by themselves, I don't think any one entity can keep that lake looking the way it does right now. I think if we all continue to work together, I've been out on the patrol boat with the Corps of Engineers. I'm up through there a lot myself because I'm not above pulling trash myself if I have to. I wish everybody would, but the lake looks the best right now, and I've heard it several times that it's ever looked.
Yeah.
I mean,
Our
it's-
employees.
It's our intention, I think I can speak for these guys, to keep it that way.
Yes.
Because it is an embarrassment when it makes the front of the Herald Leader, and it shows a mountain of garbage. Long-term, we do need to look, and we have talked to the Corps. We talked to the Corps at one of the conferences. I think Commissioner Robertson brought it up with one of the folks from the Louisville district about trying to put some kind of buoy system or catch system in to where it would hold it up around, the upper end of the lake so it doesn't end up down at the dam. One of the reasons I wanted to ask you to come in is, we would like the opportunity to showcase local business, people who are trying to grow the economy, who are trying to invest. And I thought you had a story that needed to be heard as far as what you had to deal with the regulations. Just give us a couple minutes on that, and I think Judge Hickman probably would like to know about this before the next meeting.
That's better you.
Well, basically, starting back in March, before we even purchased our Whibbit Water Park, we approached the health department, the environmental.
Well, I'll preface that before she goes into that. Our lease through the Corps says that if their federal regulations don't cover a safety or a health concern that a state or a local regulation does, then we abide by it. So that's what we took with us when we walked in March.
Yes, we took that in with us, and we actually spoke with Robert Helvey, and
Teresa, would you pull those mics a little closer to you? Because just make sure it's getting picked up.
is that better?
That's better.
Okay. But we met with Robert Helvey at the Health Department, and we basically was just trying to get everything in line before we had an announcement for our opening or anything, because by this point, we knew going into it that our pre-date of May 31st and everything, it just wasn't going to happen for us. So we were like, well, we'll go ahead and take care of everything. This is back in March. At that given point in time, we were told that that was not under their jurisdiction, that we were to go by whatever federal regulations that we had and everything like that. So again, we moved on with our plans, and we actually put the Waves Water Park on the back burner for a little while because we were working on the marina so diligently we didn't have time. And then whenever we had some other issues with construction, we decided we were going to go ahead and move forward with the Waves. And this jumps us forward to May 22nd is the last time that we actually walked into the health department and everything. That was before we even announced our opening day for June 29th, because we wanted to do the June 29th opening celebration to correlate with the Millard Volunteer Fire Department's 4th of July celebration. So we went in, met with Mr. Helvey again, and asked multiple times over the phone, over text, over in person, if there was any other regulations that we needed to go by before we announced this opening to the public, because we didn't want to get the public's hopes up and then not be able to follow through. Nothing was to be done. He even contacted our main, I guess you would call her our supervisor, because she is over the core branch of it. She's over the real estate.
Yeah, the real estate side.
Yeah, the real estate side. So she's basically like our boss. You know, I contacted her, and they spoke back and forth. He in turn contacted Rodney and everything with the Corps' office, and again, he brought up the issue of water sampling, and the Corps did state that that they do water sampling every 3 years, and if we needed to have that done, we could have it done and everything, but they do their own water sampling. And again, Mr. Helvey said, no, we don't have to have it done. Well, then we actually opened and everything like that on June 29th, like I said, and then we reached out to Mr. Helvey on June 14th, not regarding the water park. We had actually, July 14th, I'm sorry, July 14th, and we had contemplated on opening a large campground in the county. So we figured, you know, since he was our source that we had talked to before, we could get him to let us know when we could pick up the regulations and everything like that for if we did decide to do that venture. On July 15th, he showed up at our Waves Water Park, and he actually had a stack of papers letting us know the regulations for a campground. Still didn't mention anything. And then on July 17th of this year, I received a text early in the morning, not a telephone call or anything like that, a text from Mr. Helvey saying, I just spoke with the state regarding your water park, and you're going to have to close until you get a permit. That was all I got. And I...
You had met with him all these times and never been mentioned.
Never been issued, never been mentioned. The only time he ever mentioned it is the last time we were in his office on May 22nd. He had called someone while we were in there, and he had it on speaker, and we couldn't really make out what she was saying. I just know that she was from the state. She was very verbal and telling him that she was basically irritated that he had called her so many times regarding the same issue, and that he knew exactly what needed to be done. And she hung up on him. And you could tell that she was very livid with him.
Could you get us her name?
Jan Brown. We found out who it was afterwards, because after he had mentioned to us, yes, after he had mentioned to us on the 17th that we needed to have this permit, That is the same permit that he had mentioned on the 22nd of May that we were told that we did not have to have, that we were told was not in their jurisdiction and all this and that. Well, on the 17th, after he sent that text, I called him, and we were like, well, what exactly are we violating? What code is it that we need to close down for? If there's something that we are violating, by all means, let us know, just because I said so. That's not how business works. So, and I told him then, I was like, well, I will talk to my director, I will talk to the Corps, and we will find out what needs to be done. And so we literally went to the Corps, spoke with Rodney, spoke with Kelly, with Poff, which is our supervisor, the one I was speaking to before. And again, we were back at square one. I mean,
Nobody could tell us.
Nobody could tell us what we needed to do. And the Corps has never had this issue with any other type owner whatsoever. And Mr. Helvey just kept saying, since you're a third party, you are responsible for this. And then he actually not only told us this, that he was shutting us down, he told multiple people in the community that the health department was shutting us down because of water quality issues, not being safe for their children to be in the water. That in itself could have destroyed us right then and there. But luckily, these people that were in the community, they actually called the Corps, they called us, and they asked if we were open. And it was kind of disturbing getting people coming up to us and being like, oh, well, you know, I thought that you all were closed because of some kind of flesh-eating bacteria. It escalates once it goes from...
That happens.
Yeah. And so we told them again, no. And then he also sent the state, what was it, the water? For
The state plumbing inspector.
State plumbing inspector up there to inspect our water hoses. We do not have anything to do with the water or the plumbing that is from the Corps. That's actually regulated through the Corps. That's the Corps' water. The only thing that they allowed us to do
Just hook our water hoses
was
in.
hook a water hose up for our inflatables that's on land. He came up there and our employees had to call us because the state people asked them who they worked for, and they said, well, Teresa and James Thomas. Well, if that's who you work for, I'm here to shut you down because Robert Helvey told us to. And they must contact Robert Helvey before they can reopen. So we dealt with that issue again, and the Corps actually flat out told them that that was not our water. We had nothing to do with the plumbing with that, and everything that was theirs. But we jumped forward to the 24th. We actually met with Jackie.
Robert's supervisor, I believe.
Yes, I believe it's Robert's supervisor. And this was the first he had ever heard of any of it, well, a couple of days prior to that. And we met with him, and we were supposed to meet with a member from the State Department that was apparently coming to shut us down because someone had called from the health department so many times that they were driving in from Frankfurt to shut us down the day prior. And Jackie intervened and called to a meeting, and so the Corps, Rodney and Kelly came in from the Huntington office, and Rodney came in as well, and us and Jackie, but then the person from the state never did show up. And again, I received a text from Robert the day prior saying that we were going to have a meeting, but he didn't show up to that. Well, then Jackie informed us the next day that on July 30th, Jan Brown was coming from the state, and she was just basically going to lay out what we were going to have to do for a beach-like survey. No one could ever give us what survey or anything that we needed to have done was, but it's called a beach-like survey. So she came in, and when she did, we were waiting for a time. We were waiting for a time to meet with her and the health department. No one gave us the time. Our supervisor from the Huntington district actually reached out to Jackie and Robert from the health department. No one could give us a time, and multiple attempts have been made to that. me and my husband decided we weren't going to let them show up, us not being there. So we got there at 8 o'clock that morning and basically camped out. And as we see them pulling down the hill, we get another text message from Robert stating that needed to shut the park down immediately, and they're on their way, and needed to call them. We saw them pull in.
Their own eyes.
Yeah, and so when...
And we had to call the Corps officials because they also had no clue what time this
And they were
meeting
on
was
their way
supposed to
in.
take place. And she was driving in from Huntington.
Yes. And so we get up there, and it's Jan Brown and her, I don't remember that guy's name, but he was there, and then Robert Helvey and Jackie Cole and another...
Someone else from the county health
Yeah,
department.
another gentleman from the county health department. And the state did sampling. Well, a long story, not so short, we ended up going to the Corps office because our Corps manager and Rodney was there. And then Glenn Aggins came up there too because apparently they are going after the county campground as well. And Robert made the remark as soon as he got up there that this is main priority, that we were going to make an example out of you all, and then we were going after the county campground next. And so then we go to the Corps office, and when we get to the Corps office, we all sit down and meet, and it's abundantly clear that Miss Brown had an entirely different image pictured of what we were trying to do.
What we were doing.
And I explained to her in detail our safety protocols for everything that we do up there, because it was clear that she had thought that we had just threw some inflatables on the water, threw some kids out there in life jackets, called them lifeguards, and said, go to town. You know, I mean, that's pretty much the image. And she had been told from Robert that we were standing on this line of federal property, basically saying we don't have to abide by your rules.
At some point, did someone send a letter or try to contact the U.S. Attorney's Office?
Yes, that was a part of this entire fiasco as well, because apparently the U.S. Attorney's Office actually emailed, which department was it at the Huntington
The U.S.
branch?
Attorney Office emailed Kelly Poff, our
Yes.
leasee director, whatever you would want to call her, and asked her, and I believe Rodney was CC'd in that, to inquire about us polluting the lake.
Yes, that we were
That point.
polluting the lake at this point.
Here's what I recommend we do, and I think Ernie, James told me how much you had spent up there, and I'm not going to repeat that, but it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it's a substantial investment by a local resident wanting to make the county better. And, you know, we expect everyone to abide by the rules, but we also expect government agencies to do their part to make sure that, you know, to help foster growth as opposed to hinder it. So I think this is some information that I think Judge Hickman will get with you before the next Health Department Board meeting. And as you know, I know another member of the Health Department Board fairly well, and I'll discuss when I get home with her tonight.
Yes.
This issue in detail. And, you know, I think it merits a discussion and inquiry as to why this all transpired.
Oh,
And I think, James, you made the statement to me, you're going to spend the amount of money you spend up there, you know, and argue over a $200 permit.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
we've got the $200 permit now and everything.
And I will add that it took us about 3 days to get this permit. This could have all been avoided in March.
We could have done this in March.
Glad to have done the same exact thing.
And Miss Jan Brown, she was very helpful.
She drove back on Friday to keep us from being closed for the weekend so that she could finish her inspection.
She literally took the water sample straight back to Frankfurt. In the meeting that we had with the Corps, she even mentioned, she was like, I can see now that you guys are not the problem. I have contacted them and told them numerous times exactly what you needed to do. And literally, she told us in a matter of 5 minutes what we
so she
needed
said the
to do.
problem was at the local office.
Yes, and when she came back, she even said the same thing. And when she came back, the local office tried to make us wait until Monday in order to get the permit from the county, even though she gave us the permit from the state. And she flat out told them, she's like, the only reason you were here is because I wanted to witness that you were actually giving them the permit, because he was trying to get us to shut down for the entire weekend as well. So it was quite,
We're open right now.
Yeah, we're
open
we're
until
open.
8 this evening, and then we'll
Yes.
be open in the morning at 11.
yeah. And there was nothing wrong with the water quality, by the way.
Water's safe,
Yeah,
by the way, Judge.
absolutely 110% safe.
Well, listen, you're all welcome anytime. We encourage people to patronize local businesses, and we appreciate your investment because this is in the county tax base. This is money that will go in on the occupational net profit tax side. It helps shore up county government, helps us provide the services, and is a substantial investment in our county, and we greatly appreciate that. Gentlemen, y'all have anything you'd like to?
I just want to agree with what she said. Glenn Atkins did call me on this, and he was also threatened about the campground up there, which belongs to the county. He just runs it. But I understand that he was threatened too by this guy.
Well, like I said, we have a gentleman here that's going to look into this, I think.
Yeah, let me say this too. Diana Thacker is here, is also
I forgot, that's
on
right.
that,
That's three members that
on
we
that
have
board.
access
So
to.
you've got plenty of access here. It would be my hope that inspectors, no matter what they're doing out there, and I hope they're listening, would find solutions, regardless of the situation. If something is wrong, be transparent, be upfront, and state what the problems are and why they're there, and then work with business people as well as homeowners to find solutions. And that's all I'm going to say tonight, Judge. And I'll get with you guys, and Diana, you're welcome to join me if you want to when we sit down and talk.
Thank you all very much.
We appreciate you all so
I
much.
want to thank you all for what y'all have done up there and what a difference it is in working with us, the county and the Pride.
Absolutely.
Thank you all.
You know, Fish Trap is something I've worked on for several years in my last job in Frankfort. And Fish Trap can be a tremendous asset to this county as opposed to an eyesore or a negative that it has been in the past. And we're going to do what we can do to help make it an asset.
Judge, just a little while ago, I don't know if they've told you, but I think they're shipping that Inferno out next week.
Yes, they
Did
are.
you?
It will be.
I just got a call on it before I came down here.
I talked to Rodney earlier today, and they're super excited about it.
So,
James, how, up around Grapevine, how's that looking up there?
It's as clean as everything else is, sir.
Okay.
The burner, they couldn't get it.
For the wood? Okay.
For the wood. It's supposed to ship out, I think, Friday, but they couldn't get it out. It'll be next week. So that's on its way too. So that's going to be a big help.
That will be a huge help
So,
in the natural debris that's coming down through there.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you.
The next matter on the agenda is acknowledgement of receipt of the Pike County Board of Health 2019 tax rates. They are the same as last year. This rate has not changed in several years, unlike it has with the library board. I would ask if there is a motion to acknowledge. We have a motion by Commissioner Booth to acknowledge receipt of the Pike County Board of Health 2019 tax rates. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Tackett. Is there any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is a second reading of a proposed road ordinance adopting a speed limit for County Route 1407 Dudley Drive. Mr. King, would you please summarize this for us?
Yes, this is an ordinance establishing a 15-mile-per-hour speed limit on Pike County Road number 2083. It's Dudley Drive. This is a residential neighborhood, and we received a petition from the residents, and we've already had the first reading. So tonight will be the second reading. It's on for formal vote.
Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance establishing a 15-mile-per-hour drive on, actually, there's an issue here. It says Pike County Road 2083 Dudley Drive, but then it's got on the agenda County Road 1407.
It's 2083.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance establishing a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit on Pike County Route 2083 Dudley Drive? Motion. We have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tackett. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is a second reading of a proposed road ordinance adopting a speed limit for County Route 1601 Grassy Creek Road, establishing a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. Mr. King, would you just please, I think I've just done your job, but you can go ahead and
Just
do it.
summarize, Judge. This is basically the same type of ordinance as the last. This road, as Mr. Little advised us last court meeting, that the traffic flow is a little different. That's the reasoning for the difference in the speed limit. But it would establish a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit on County Road 1601, which is Grassy Creek Road.
Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance establishing a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit on County Route 1601 Grassy Creek Road pursuant to KRS 189-394?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Booth. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. The next item on the agenda is a second reading of a proposed ordinance relating to damaging of county roads and installation and approval of installed drains.
This ordinance, and we discussed it at length last court meeting, as I understand it, and Mr. Little gave us detail, of course, the county spends a significant amount of money repairing areas adjacent to the roadway after storm events where drains have been put in improperly. And this ordinance would allow the county road department to go in and provide labor so long as the landowner pays for the drain and for the materials, and allows the county to direct with the floodplain commissioner what that drain should be. Mr. Lou, do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, other than just everything I've said before, that this is really good. I mean, it's really going to save the county a lot of money, and it'll show up in a couple of years. I mean, in the flooding, I'm really glad that you guys are doing this.
The full text of the ordinance is in the judge's office should anybody want to see it, but it is a second reading and is in order for vote.
All right, is there a motion to adopt this ordinance relating to the damaging of roads due to improperly installed drains, and that would allow the Pike County Road Department to assist the landowner at the landowner's cost for materials with the installation or removal of drains that abut county roads?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Robertson. Is there any question or discussion?
Only thing I got to say, Judge, is just when you're going up a hollow and you look at one drain you can drive a truck through, and then the next one you can't dribble a basketball through it, that we got opportunity to change this as they wash out.
My holler's the same way. I've got one you can drive a truck through, some others not so big. Seeing no other question or discussion, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. It would be my motion that we pass over the next item on the agenda relating to the amendment of Section 462 relating to sick leave.
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Tackett. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth? Yes. Judge Jones?
Yes. We'll work on this some more and try to look at this. It needs a little bit more work. Next item on the agenda is Mr. Fan, and any bids to award, sir?
Yes. We had a bid opening on August 2nd for bid number 29-2019, which is recycling equipment. There were 4 items that we bid, and there were 2 companies that put in bids. The first company was Mid-State Equipment from Buchanan, Virginia. The first item that was bid was 2 20-yard roll-off containers with roof. They did not bid on that item. The second item was 5 30-yard roll-off containers. They did not bid on that item. The third item that was bid was 2 15-yard cardboard recycle trailers. They bid $12,500 each, or for a total of $25,000 for those. The fourth item that was bid was 1 20-yard mobile trailer with lift. Their bid was $14,599. The second company that put in a bid was Baker Waste Equipment from Lenoir, North Carolina. For the first item, 2 20-yard roll-off containers with roof, they bid $6,264 for a total of $12,528. The second item was 5 30-yard roll-off containers. Their bid was $4,163 for a total of $20,815. It's my recommendation that we award the bid to Mid-State Equipment for the roll-off containers and award the bid to Baker Waste Equipment for the trailers.
Is there a motion to adopt Mr. Fannon's recommendations to award the bid for the roll-off containers to Mid-State Equipment and the bid to Baker Waste Equipment for the trailers? Let's see here. Baker was the let's see. That's correct. Let me just read these. Greg, I think there's a typo at the bottom.
Yes, the Baker, it's my recommendation to award the bid to Baker for the roll-off containers and that we award the bid to Mid-State Equipment for the trailers.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt Mr. Fannon's recommendation and award the bid to Mid-State Equipment of Buchanan, Virginia for the 2 15-yard cardboard recycle trailers and the 1 20-yard mobile trailer with lift, and to award the bid to Baker Waste Equipment in Lenoir, North Carolina for 2 20-yard roll-off containers with a roof and 5 30-yard roll-off containers? Motion. We have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Tackett. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson? Yes. Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth? Yes. Judge Jones?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other business, sir?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, Mr. Little, would you please have a seat? And we have the Pike County Road Supervisors report and the approval of the Pike County Commissioners' recommended road maintenance work. And I think these are all on the same spreadsheet. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it looks like your crew's been pretty busy. How are we coming with the weed mowing now that we've got all the mowers back in?
We're still behind, which honestly, we'll stay behind this year. There's just no way to get caught up. We're doing better, but we kind of got ourselves, in a hole this year, and we'll try our best not to let this happen again.
Well, we had some mowers that were down.
We did.
And we had a shortage of employees for a period of time.
Exactly.
And then we've had a bunch of storm damage that we've had to address as well.
Yeah. So we're coming up with hopefully a different plan for next year that we think will help us out a lot on the weeds.
And we've had some discussions about how we could better combine those, put them into an area, knock it all out.
Yes.
As opposed to having one mower working in a sixth of the county, essentially.
Exactly. And then, also I'd like to look at even the possibility of spraying, not spraying around homes, but in areas where we can. It would help us. It will cut down on what we would have to mow.
You told me just some information that you learned in one of the classes about the cost benefit of spraying versus mowing. Would you?
Yeah, and the cost benefit was like for the state, I think it was almost 20 million in 1 year. You know, the benefit over that you would have by spraying than running the mower.
And if we could, you know, do that at the local level, it would probably save time and money.
Save time and money, exactly.
Is there a motion to approve the Pike County Commissioner's recommended road maintenance and to approve the Pike County Road Supervisors report as submitted on the Excel spreadsheet that's in the packet?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robertson. Is there any comments or questions by the members of the court regarding the progress that we're making in the road department?
I just wanted to ask Fabian, how many of the sickle mowers have we got?
3.
Do we use them all the time?
Some do, some don't. I mean, it's kind of like we're in that position with the mowers that we have when we have to run them.
But they're pretty new pieces of equipment, right?
Oh, they are. All 3 of them are new tractors, yes.
But how much does it cost to put the other type on there?
See, that was what we would like to do, and we looked at it when we first came in this year about doing that. I'm thinking it was somewhere like $30,000 a deck, you know, per unit to have the drop deck, the side mower put on that.
And that's if it would match up.
Yeah, and that was exactly if it would match up, yes.
Well, that might be something we look at this winter, if we could just do one every winter, you know, have it ready for summer.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And again, this may be a question. Is part of the problem we don't have the equipment we need to do it?
Yeah, yes, it is. I mean, it is because whenever you're running a tractor for a week and it stays down for 3 weeks, and I'm not saying a thing about JJ, it's not his, but you know, it is what it is. You get behind because everybody knows if you go 3 weeks without mowing your lawn, what happens, you know? So
what I liked about it was the mowing part. If you mow with the drop deck, you go up the holler, and if something happened, one tore up, and you come back down with the sickle bar. There was complaints because it wasn't cutting it back far enough.
Yeah,
the sickle bar is just
sickle bar is just
bale
the wrong
hay or
type of
something. They're the best situation to go with. The drop deck's where it's at. And
it is.
Hopefully, one of these days we can switch them all over to that because the tractors look new.
They are, and they are new. They're good tractors. I don't know, JJ. I don't think we've probably had other than one of the tractors is the only thing we've had an issue with. I think of those.
JJ, what? Yep.
The new John Deere drop right now that they broke the bar completely off of, $3,200 to replace that bar.
How did they do that?
It's a bad setup.
And it is. It's a wear point. It's a wear point. It's where they connect. And if you take, when that raises up, that breaks at the pivot point. So when you raise it, that thing's always a flopping. If you're tramming, it's always bouncing. So it's a wear point.
Well, you just run, I mean, it's easy to run in things with that, Judge. I mean, it hanging out there and you don't know what's there. It's like, we replaced a fire hydrant up at Jerry Atkins Mobile Homes there, which he's not in business anymore, but that's how it got destroyed. It got destroyed by a weed mower.
Well, this one was basically metal fatigue, right?
It was, yes, it was metal fatigue. That's what it was. It was just over a period of time.
Yeah.
All right, we have a vote in order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is Treasurer's Business. Mr. Stacy.
The first thing I have is to authorize the county treasurer to sign and submit a lease application for the 7 tandem dump trucks and 3 roll-off transfer trucks through the MAC truck lease program with Worldwide Equipment, and authorization to apply for financing of the lease. And I would also like to add to that notification to the state local finance officer of intent to borrow.
All right, is there a motion to authorize the county treasurer to sign and submit a lease application of 7 tandem dump trucks and 3 roll-off transfer trucks through the MAC truck lease program with Worldwide Equipment, and authorization to apply for financing of the lease as well as to allow the treasurer to give notification to the state local finance officer of the intent to lease,
Of intent to borrow.
of intent to borrow, rather.
Yes.
We have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Tackett. Is there any other question or discussion?
I just want to say one thing about these Mack trucks. We've had some problems out of those, haven't we, JJ?
We've got two now down. One's been down there for a week. We got another that goes down to get that one fixed.
And then we had one that was down for a long period of time, wasn't it?
And another thing, like if something happens to those trucks and it's under warranty, they'll call me and they'll say, if you will pay overnight charges, we can start in the morning. Truck, or we'll have to wait till next week when the federal truck comes to get it.
Let me call Worldwide Equipment about that. That's, you know, the county's had a long-term business relationship with them. One of the issues about, and there was some discussion about looking at some other brands. The big question was, could you get them and would they be available? Because what Mr. Stacy was saying is.
There's a long lead time from the time that the manufacturer orders the trucks. I'm thinking they said like 12 to 15 months before you can actually have them available from the manufacturer to lease. So like even though we're leasing these trucks next month, he's actually placing his orders for the trucks for 2020
a year
ahead. And you would run into that same problem with another manufacturer. They would have to build the trucks. You would have to order the trucks in time to have those trucks built for the time that you're going to switch them out.
It would seem to me that we need to have a conversation with Worldwide. Worldwide's, like I said, been they've had a long-term relationship. Let's call them, tell them we need to get this addressed.
The biggest problem about what we've had is the distance that we have to take the trucks and work.
I think we have to take them all the way to Lomansville now, don't we?
There's actually a meeting scheduled with Scott Thursday.
Okay. Then we can take care of that Thursday then. That's something that's not acceptable. We need to get it, but I think it's something that should be easily addressed. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
Authorized checks for lodging registration expenses for Jimmy Kaiser to attend the CAM conference, which is the Kentucky Association of Mitigation Managers Annual Conference, which is September 17th through the 19th at Lake Bartley State Resort Park in Cadiz.
Is there a motion to authorize checks for lodging registration expenses for Jimmy Kaiser to attend the Kentucky Association of Mitigation Managers Annual Conference, September 17th and 19th at Lake Barkley?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Tackett. Is there any question or discussion? See none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Authorized check for lodging and expenses. There is no registration fee for the Judge Executive to attend the 20th Annual Kentucky County Judge Executive Fall Membership Retreat, September 18th through the 20th at Griffin Gate Marriott Resort in Lexington.
Is that what we want to do?
Is there a motion to authorize checks for the Judge Executive to attend the 20th Annual KCJEA Fall Membership Retreat, September 18th and 19th, September 18th and 20th in Lexington?
Motion.
And that is, we have a motion by Commissioner Booth. Is there a second?
Is this the one we all go to, or just?
This is the one where
Okay. Okay.
Do you want to go for me?
You see how he is, Judge. He wants to squeeze in there.
I tell you, if you've never been to one of these, they're not exactly a lot of fun.
What does the
sitting-
magistrate commissioner want?
It's about like going to a CLE seminar all day, sitting there listening.
I'll second that for you to go. How's that?
Gee, thanks. I appreciate the favor. I may withdraw the motion. We have a motion and a second. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. And if I didn't cast a vote on the matter for Mr. Kaiser, cast an aye vote.
Authorize checks for lodging, registration, and expenses for any employee who wishes to attend the 18th Annual COLA Fall Conference, which is a Kentucky Occupational Tax, their conference, September 11th through the 13th at the Hilton Garden Inn in Georgetown.
Do we have anybody that's planning on attending this?
We've got 3 people from the Occupational Tax Office.
Okay. Is there a motion to authorize checks for lodging, registration, and expenses for the employees in the Occupational Tax Office who wish to attend the 18th Annual COLA Fall Conference, September 11th to 13th in Georgetown?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Booth. Any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
The State Auditor's Office has finally released the June 30th, 2018 audit for the fiscal court, and I would ask that you acknowledge receipt of the Pike County Fiscal Court audit for fiscal year ending June 30, 2018.
Is there a motion to acknowledge receipt of the Pike County Fiscal Court audit for the fiscal court for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Robertson. Was it? I'm sorry. Commissioner Booth. Mr. Stacy, is there can you explain what the findings of this audit were? And this is for the fiscal year that ended before we came into office, correct?
This is the fiscal year that ended before you came into office, and this was the fiscal year that ended, that I became treasurer 3 weeks before that fiscal year ended. So there are some audit findings. I would like to say of all the audit findings for that 2018 audit, they've all been resolved. And the auditors are actually here now doing our 2019 audit. So,
and again, thank you for your hard work to get this done, because I know it was cast upon you in a very bad set of circumstances, and you were able to get a lot of work done in order to keep the state from coming in here and taking over county government. Is there any question or discussion on this? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson? Yes. Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
the last thing I had, Judge, was we've got some landfill post-closure CDs at BB&T Bank. I think the balance on them right now would be right at $4 million. And I know it doesn't sound like much, but I quoted interest rates with BB&T and Community Trust Bank, and for a one-year rate, BB&T had offered 1.65% interest. Community Trust Bank had quoted a 1.85% interest. And, you know, being a steward of the money, I would ask the court to move those CDs to Community Trust Bank to get the higher interest rate.
And you had asked for the best rate when you asked for a proposal, correct?
Yes, from both banks.
And then once you got the proposal from Community Trust, BB&T wanted to come back?
Once they found out what Community Trust rate was, yes. But
we're not going to do that. When we ask for somebody to give the best rate, I think the members of the court, when we ask them for the best rate on the front, don't think they're going to come back in and try to undercut somebody.
Judge, it goes back to like the bids. We ask when they're turned, same thing, you know.
So they give us the best deal up front, or they don't get the deal. So is there a motion to authorize the county treasurer to move the certificates of deposit for the landfill post-closure account at BB&T to Community Trust Bank at a interest rate of 1.85%?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Booth. Is there any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes.
That's all I had, Judge.
All right, thank you, Mr. Stacy. The next item on the agenda is executive session. We do have, I think, one person, Mr. Johnny Thacker, signed up for public comment. I'm not going to leave them waiting back here. Johnny, if you'd like to come on up. Is this about the same matter we talked about last week? Have you tried to talk to Mr. Little about this? Come on up.
My name is John Thacker. I live on the Hurricane Hidden Valley subdivision. I want to say this, Judge. I appreciate you coming down. I believe it's been about 2 weeks and a half ago. And Commissioner Little come down with you. And Commissioner Robertson come down too.
Mr. Hickman was with us over there.
And look, didn't get much satisfaction, but what is your plan down the Hidden Valley?
Well, we told you, Johnny, and we told you what the plan was when we came over, because it was the four of us take time to come over, Mr. Little, myself, Judge Hickman, and Commissioner Robertson. And we thought we had an understanding with you that when there was a big rain event, you were going to call Mr. Little, and he was going to come over to your house and see where your drainage problem was at. Now, I don't think, and Mr. Little, has he called you? Have you heard? I mean, that was the plan that we all agreed to. Now, I looked to that neighborhood, and, you know, I know you're wanting some people to dig ditches up and things like that. We don't have the authority to make people do that.
Well,
And Johnny, hang on a second. We're willing to help you, and we came out and we gave you a plan, but we haven't heard back from you. The plan was, we can't look at a drainage issue if it's not raining. If there's not an active problem, we need to see where the water's coming from, and we'll send the road department supervisor out there and take a look at it. But I don't know what you're wanting to accomplish. We can't go out there on a pretty day and figure out a drainage issue.
But Judge, can I speak a minute?
You have 3 minutes.
Well, I have to come back, I probably won't get it all in. You know, it ain't hard to see. There's a map on the record in the clerk's office. It shows that we got 30-foot right-of-way, and all the ditches on Tracy Street is filled up. In the middle, water can't get out, and down Rose Street, it's filled up, and it got some ditches. I can't understand it. Two years and a half ago, the county come over and did some. And some of the engineers surveyed it out, and they marked it off where the line went.
John, we sat down and looked at all this with you last week.
Yeah.
And I sat at your kitchen table and looked at this with you.
Yeah, I know you did.
But we're not going to go in there and make people tear their yards up. We're not going to do that.
I'm not asking you to tear nobody's yard up. You got 30 foot of right of way.
And we looked at that. But here's what we're going to do. If you want to get with Mr. Little, we're not going to be able to resolve your issues here in public comment. And that's not the purpose of this.
Well, how am I going to get it resolved?
Well, I'm the presiding officer here, and I want you to listen to me for a second, okay?
Judge.
This is a courtesy. No one has a right to go address Congress in this manner or the state legislature. You can't go to Frankfurt and do this. This is a courtesy. And we came over, the four of us took quite a bit of time out, and we gave you our opinion, and you come back in here and you're going hashing this out again. We're not going to do that. We got too much other business.
Well,
We've already been here for a long time. We got a couple more hours to
well, I
go.
know you have, Judge.
But
I got a lot of events in my house down there.
and a lot of other people do.
Yeah, I know,
And-
but they don't want a road. They don't want a ditch. They filled her up.
But what we're going to move on. What you need to do is get with Mr. Little and go out and do what we agreed to do. We had an agreement, and you
I
not.
didn't have no agreement. You had the agreement.
Okay, well then, that's what we're willing to do, and we're not going to do any more than that. So, and we're not going to go over this again at the next court meeting. We're not going to do that. We're not going to turn this into a spectacle like the prior
I'm
court.
not asking you to.
Okay.
Only thing I'm asking
So
you to
your 3 minutes are up. We have given you every courtesy, and we'll try to help you, but we're not going to turn this into a circus at every court meeting. All right, the next item on the agenda is the executive session. Mr. King, would you please instruct the public on the applicable law for executive session?
We need a motion and vote as authorized by KRS 61810, subsection C and F, to discuss pending litigation and specific personnel matters.
All right, is there a motion to enter into executive session? Motion. We have a motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second? Second. We have a second by Commissioner Booth. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes, we are adjourned for executive session, and we'll return at the call of the chair. Is there a motion to exit or adjourn from executive session?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Robertson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes, and Mr. Maynard, would you please present my personnel recommendations in motion to the court?
Yes, Judge. The following items are up for approval. It is approval to hire Scott Mounts as a weed mower/truck driver at Road Lot 2 at a 3H rate of pay effective 8/19/19. Approval to move Devin Farron from a loader to a mini packer driver at Solid Waste Area 2 at a 3H rate of pay. Approval to move Austin Atkins from a loader to a mini packer driver at Solid Waste Area 2 at a 3H rate of pay. Approval to accept Bradley Brennan's resignation effective 7/29/19. Approval to hire David Mullins as a float driver in the solid waste office at a 3H rate of pay effective 7/31/19. Approval to move Charles Morley to a solid waste manager at a 4A rate of pay plus longevity. Approval to move Stephanie Clevenger to a 4A rate of pay. Approval to accept Jacob Dotson's resignation effective 8/19. Approval to move Jason Burke from a helper to an animal control officer at the animal shelter at the same rate of pay. Approval to move Daryl Mullins from a helper to an animal control officer at the animal shelter at the same rate of pay. Approval to hire Justin Mayhorn as a truck driver at Road Lot 5 at a 3H rate of pay effective 8/12/19. Approval to move Thomas Thacker to Road Lot 4 as a temporary road foreman at a 4A rate of pay. Approval to hire Kirby Addington as a mini packer driver at the Solid Waste Area 3 at a 3H rate of pay. Approval to move Pebble Roberts to Road Lot 3 as a heavy equipment operator at a 5H rate of pay plus longevity, effective 8/5/19.
Those are my recommendations and my motion. Is there a second? Second. There's a second by Commissioner Robertson. Is there any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes. Next item is the Pike County Department Supervisors' comments. We'll start over here. We have our trail consultant. Jim, you have anything for us tonight? All right. Mr. Fannin. Ms. Thacker. Ms. Fanover. Ms. Hall. Mr. Williamson. Mr. Morley. Mr. Hensley. Mr. Kaiser. Anything, sir?
I was just going to update the court on the Fish Trap Road. They started blacktopping. They'll probably be completed with the blacktopping Thursday. He's scheduling the guardrail crew to come in next week. Then they'll do the shoulders and some of the striping in the parking lot. And he's supposed to contact me first of next week, the day for me and Fabian to go up and look at the blacktop and stuff and let him give his blessings and stuff on it. And then it's the rest of it, they'll ease out over the next 2 or 3 weeks, like the sealing of the parking lot and the striping of it and things of that nature. I just want to let the court know what's going on.
Mr. Tackett, thank you, sir. Mr. Tackett. Mr. Spears, anything, sir? Come on up, just.
Okay. We finished the presentation, got it ready for the supervisors. When y'all get ready to do that, I think Judge Hickman said maybe in the next week. We've acquired an excavator training presentation. Baby and I worked yesterday, Parnell Roberts. He's looking at moving him to an excavator. And we did the in-house training. Fabian's going to do the observation, make sure he operates the machine correctly. We finished the initial class with the county workers. We've trained 4 new employees on the orientation. Completed 3 classes with the inmates. Still like 1 more. I've done some visiting to the landfills and garages and so forth. Should have most of the PPE already in place. We may like the jail people, and we've got 1 makeup class we need to do for the stragglers. And that should have everything in there. We are working on a written safety program, a written hazard communication program, contacting some of the equipment manufacturers and dealers to look at more machine-specific training materials. And we're looking at guidelines for solid waste trucks, working on roofs, just different stuff, and trying to move forward.
We appreciate the update and just keep pushing this forward as fast as you can. Gentlemen, you have any questions or anything? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Stacy, you have anything? Mr. Maynard, Jeannie, you have anything? Next is the Pike County Attorney's comments. Mr. Keene, anything tonight?
No, I don't have anything tonight, Judge.
Thank you, sir. Judge Hickman.
Not tonight, Judge.
And we have the County Commissioner's comments. We'll start with District 3 Commissioner Brian Booth.
Judge, I just want to thank our employees for what they've been doing. We still seem like had some tree issues and different things. We're starting, I think, to get back on our potholing a little bit and getting some of that also picked back up and get done. And we still got a little bit of mulch that we piled to get to some of our parks somewhere to get them finished up now. But other than that, that's all I've got tonight, Judge.
Thank you, sir. We'll go to District 2 Commissioner Jason Tackett.
I just want to let the people know up in the Belcher area that their road foreman is back up there. I think yesterday was Gary Francis' first day back. Had a little bit of issue with the Ralph Blankenship's going to be off a little bit, but other than just be patient. I know people get tired of hearing us say that, but we're trying. The guys are working real hard. We're hoping to get all this patching done and get everything started, and just keep those workers in your prayers, and thank you all very much.
Thank you, Commissioner, District 3, 1 Commissioner Ronnie Robertson.
District 3.
I'm missing, it's been a long day. I didn't say magistrate, did I?
I just want to thank everybody that works for this county. They're doing a great job, and we are moving forward. I want to tell you, Jim, that Deputy Judge Hickman told me that our Trimble unit is ordered. Should be here in the next day or so for our trails. And so Whitey can get on that, and you just as soon as possible. We'll start trying to get this mapped out and get our trail system going. Thank you.
Would you briefly address that Yellow Hill issue too?
Yeah.
I'll add to that.
We've got a place on Yellow Hill that's been damaged for a year and little over a year. It's got our county road really fell out, and we've got the hill kind of slid down on this lady's property, but we've got 2 more residents up there that they have to try to go by the slide to get in their driveway, and then the other people have to pull up the hill and then back into their driveway. To me, this has went on entirely too long. Something needs to be done for these people, and we'll try to get on it this week, Judge, and we got to do something for these people up there.
So I want to make one, I'm going to disagree with you on something. And here's what I'm going to disagree. It's not, we haven't been dealing with it. This is Mountain Water is the we.
Yes, that's correct. Mountain Water has took responsible for the slide up there, but it's got our county road wiped out. And, you know, the taxpayers of this county deserve better than what they're getting up there right now. You know, like I said, they've been battling this for a year and something. So.
And I pointed that out because every member of this court has been involved on this issue. I guess it's my time for judges' comments. Every member of the court has been involved in this because it is unfair to the property owner. The issue is a water line leak that has caused a slide behind this lady's home. It's a huge mess, but it's also impacted a county road. And, you know, we thought there was a resolution where Mountain Water was going to buy this lady out. Apparently that's not happened. But this is something that we have instructed the county attorney to even look at the possibility of litigation over this if if it's not resolved imminently and the road fixed, because it is impacting other homeowners. But, you know, and I want to just touch on this Mountain Water issue briefly. Some folks criticize me for saying that I was going to replace the board. The reason I want to replace the board, and we have the first member appointed by this court who's a very well-respected CPA here in Pikeville, who's a Mountain Water customer who lives at Shelby Valley, is on the board. It is inexcusable for a district that has $94 million invested in its infrastructure. Now think about this, $94 million invested in Mountain Water infrastructure over the years. Some of that infrastructure is decades old. Some of it goes back to the old Shelby Valley Water District, the Marbone, and I think the Belfry or Pond Creek, I'm not sure what the name was, but back probably when I was a kid. I mean, some of this infrastructure is nearing 50 years old. They've only got $170-some thousand set aside to replace this. It is woefully inadequate reserves to repair and keep up this water system. And if something's not done, we have a potential down the road, and it's not going to happen overnight. I probably won't be county judge when it happens. But when you start talking about the future of this county, you can't look to the future without guaranteeing the future of the water system that provides virtually the vast majority of the people in this county their water. And when you're only looking at those minimal reserves to replace aging infrastructure, it's a mountain or a Martin County water catastrophe waiting to happen. And if something's not done, it will make Martin County's situation, it will pale in comparison. And after we questioned them back a few months ago, 3 or 4 months ago, they had a board meeting. And the purpose was to chastise me. They didn't expect me to come. Of course, I came. I sat down in the meeting. I sat in the front row, as a matter of fact. I don't run from controversy. I think that when there's an issue that affects my family, because my kids drink mountain water every day. They brush their teeth with it. We wash clothes with it. We do laundry with it. And when so many people depend on that utility, it's my responsibility to question them when I see things that are being done short-sighted. Just like when I took on this issue about a solid waste system that had no money put aside for an expansion. When we've got, you know, our solid waste manager saying we need to replace all 12 mini packers, 2006 models, 2009 models, and 2015 or 16 models that we can't keep on the road. I mean, it's just been poor planning. And what I hope my legacy will be that we create a system and that this court creates a system to where there will be that future courts will recognize the need for long-term planning. But Mountain Water, when they had their little press conference or their meeting, they paid $509 of ratepayer money to put their press release in the newspaper. That's an absolute waste of money, just to prove a political point. It's not going to change the fact that all their commissioners will be changed before the end of this term, and we're going to put people on there who have the background and the experience to straighten it out, who have the understanding of this situation. And some people want to say it's UMG. UMG will not ever be back in control of Mountain Water District. I want to make that abundantly clear. And they've been vilified over the years simply as a way, some of my political opponents. But the simple fact of the matter is we had professional management. We no longer have professional management. If we had professional management, I'm not sure we would have the situation at Yellow Hill that would have taken this long to be resolved. And the people of this county deserve better. I also just want to talk a little bit about the attitude of the county workforce. It's not been easy getting our county workforce, William, to adjust to safety standards, to understand they have to wear personal protective equipment. And it's because we have a culture where a lot of employees got their jobs because of political connections, and they knew they could keep those jobs even if they had poor work performance because of those connections. We're trying to change that. We're trying to create a system where we have a professional, dedicated workforce, and there are a lot of very talented people in county government. But we also have to change the culture. A lot of those county workers have been beat down over the years. And tonight, we had a very positive announcement. We received $936,000 in discretionary county road money, the largest amount given to any rural county in Kentucky. Now, I think that has a lot to do with the fact that they recognize that this court is trying to run this government professionally, and we're trying to run it competently. I think it also shows that we have some relationships in Frankfurt and other places where we know how to reach out for help. Like I said earlier, if you don't ask for help, you're not going to get it. But the thing that really does bother me is we didn't have to get any money. The folks in Frankfurt didn't have to give us a penny of that $936,000, not one penny. And when the District 12 on Facebook announced it, it is really disheartening to see so many people criticizing. Why wasn't it spent here? Why wasn't it spent there? I'm happy that we received almost $1 million in money that we had no expectation of receiving even a month ago. But we reached out to Secretary Thomas. We reached out to the governor's office. And this is a governor that I have fought very hard against his agenda as a Democratic leader in the state Senate. We were able to put our differences aside, and he recognized the need to help the people in this county in some areas like Ford Mountain. I would hazard to say it is probably the most dangerous road in the county. A lot of breaks. And I think Mr. Little would tell you, people were even criticizing $610,000 for pavement on Ford Mountain. No, it's going to have a lot of steel's got to be drilled. There's got to be some embankment failures that have to be fixed. We have to put some guardrail on it. We, instead of being happy that we're getting help, we have people who want to complain that their part of the community didn't get help. I live on Left Fork of Island Creek. You didn't see any money for Left Fork of Island Creek. I wish we could have gotten money. Ronnie lives on Kendrick Ford. Brian lives on Nares Branch. Jason lives on B5. You know, I mean, it's not like a situation where we were directing this money to benefit us. That didn't happen. That won't happen. We identified some of the most significant needs in the county, and that's how we're operating county government, because we all are accountable to all the taxpayers, to all the voters, not just in one little area. And that was the big failure, in my opinion, of the magistrate system. The magistrate form of government, they only worry about their part of the county. We have to look at the big picture, what's going to provide the most benefit for this county, because we have to have a long-term vision for the future, and I think this court does that. And I thought it was very positive news tonight. I'm hopeful that we can find a way to use this additional coal severance tax money to replace some of this worn-out equipment so that we can better take care of our roads and we can better take care of our solid waste customers. But all in all, I think it's been a very positive meeting. We had some good news from Mr. Ramsey tonight. And I think we saw tonight, we've got people here from Pike County with James and Teresa Thomas, who are willing to invest their hard-earned money into their own county, their own community, to try to help it, to try to grow a business, to try to put people to work, and to try, most importantly, to improve the quality of life. And I think that's a testament to the fact that people love this county, that we all love. Those of us here, we all love this county, and we're going to do what we have to do, regardless of the Facebook experts, regardless of the people who just want to complain. If all you want to do is complain and you don't have a solution, then you're really part of the problem. I firmly believe that. And I point that out to people on Facebook. If you're contacting us just to complain and you don't have a solution, then you're not helping anybody. We're going to continue to move this county forward. The next meeting will be 2 weeks from tonight. It will be in the morning. And one thing I did want to mention is over the next 2 or 3 months, I wouldn't mind if we could reach out to some of the high schools in the county to see if we could maybe once a month have our regular court meeting, the morning court meeting at a high school. You know, I think it would be important to let our young people know what county government actually does. I mean, they see it on television about, you know, they read about, you know, Governor Bevin, they read about what state government does, they read about President Trump, Congress. But I think it's important for, a lot of people have a misconception about what county government does. Even on Facebook tonight, we're talking about county road aid discretionary money, and people were talking about why isn't it used on this or that? Well, they're state roads. It's a separate pool of money. And the legislature, when the budgets are done, there are pools of money set aside to take care of county roads. If it was all spent on state roads or federal highways, our county roads would be in pretty bad shape because we get about $2.4 million a year in county road aid money. We're getting about $372,000 in flex money to do paving. And we're doing a lot of that paving in-house so that we can make sure that money goes further. And hopefully, over the next couple of years, we're going to be able to provide more. We're going to keep going to Frankfurt. We're going to keep asking for help. We're going to identify those areas where we need help, and we're going to ask. We're going to go to Congressman Rogers. We're going to go to whoever the governor is. We're going to work with people in both parties to try to help address the needs of the people of this county. And Mr. Tackett?
There's not a road, state or county, in Pike County that don't need help. You know what I'm saying? And I just, you know, it takes time. Everything can't be done one night, one day. It's just going to take time, and people just got to be patient. And it's not going to be their holler this time. It may be the next time. It may be the next year, 2 years, whatever. But we are making a round to try to get the worst ones first. And that's all I got to say, Judge. Well said, and I'm finished. William, would you like to do the benediction for us tonight? You're one of our newest employees, and we would appreciate if you do the benediction for us.
Father, we come to you as a humble people, Lord, and we pray, Lord, that the decisions made here tonight moves this county forward, Lord, and we pray that you guide and direct this court and the county workers and the people of this county, Lord, that we just always look to you and that we do and make decisions that are correct for this county. We ask it all in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
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 Is there a motion for adjournment?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tackett. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Robertson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett?
Yes.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes.
Judge Jones?
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you all.